Pleasure to see you in this setting, man. Impact
Yeah.
Wrestling. Congratulations, dude. Obviously, as you know, as many people, I've followed your career for a long time. How does it feel to be an Impact at the moment, mate?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the dream job for me. It's the dream situation. It's where I want to. It's where I want to be. It's the creative freedom is has been unbelievable. The support, as I'm sure you can imagine, if I tried to if you look at the vignettes that I've made over the last three
Yes.
weeks, if I had to verbalize those, a lot of people will go, "How the hell is he going to execute that?" So, to give me the level of trust to go, listen, I'm gonna, this is what I'm going to be doing, and for them to just trust me to do that, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Obviously, I want to ask, are we seeing a new Joe Hendry? Because people know the local hero, people know your time in Ring of Honor. What is this inspirational, motivational Joe Hendry? Tell me about the character dynamics, because very creative person as
Well,
you are.
I think, to be honest, I think you might see an amalgamation of all of the things that I've done in the past. I think this character is a bit of a local hero. I think there's, I was referring to myself as the answer. I do believe I'm the answer. I believe, um, looking back, I think that COVID and being stuck at home was like really tough at the time, but I think it was the best thing for me. It allowed me to take a step back, really look at wrestling from a fan perspective again. So I started, realizing that because I think I always had, fun videos and character elements going on, but I think it took me a long time to find out my identity in the ring.
Mhm.
And I just really started gravitating towards Psycho Sid and Scott Steiner and Goldberg and guys like that. And I was like, do you know what? We've got enough guys, you know, doing all these impressive but crazy sequences. I just don't have the memory for that or the time for that. You know what? I'm just going to throw people around like they're nothing and just beat everybody up because we all know that's what I can do. So there you
Absolutely,
go.
man. Absolutely. Are we going to see, some of your wonderfully creative entrances in Impact Wrestling? Is that the plan, or is there gonna be a change in that? Because again, you are well known on your YouTube channel and across the world for your impressive musical entrances. Are we going to see more of that in Impact?
Well, the dilemma we've got is my regular entrance theme is such a banger. It would be unfair to the world not to showcase that. But I think the best way to do it is every so often, if we have something special going on, maybe we just bring out a custom entrance. There's been a lot of people who said, "Oh, Hendry can't get over unless he's got his entrances." Well, they're wrong.
Interesting. Yeah.
The vignettes are
Yeah.
over like Rover,
Yeah.
haven't even appeared yet, so they're wrong. And also, but who's to say I can't do that? When I was in Impact last time, a lot of people remember that Access Denied song that I did. A lot of people enjoyed that. Eli Drake didn't enjoy that so much. There's some real tears rolling down those cheeks, real tears. You know,
Yeah.
some people can't take it, but let's see what happens this time.
Absolutely, man. I'm so excited for you. I think there's something to be said for your journey as well, to impact your fitness regime. A lot of people saw you, really working on your fitness, working on your physique. Obviously saw you in Ring of Honor and having to sort of travel, the world, even in COVID, and go through all these challenges. And it's quite a motivational, I guess it's quite fitting to where you are now, quite a motivational sort of story about kind of not giving up, you know what I mean? Because
Oh,
you were able to still do all this stuff without quitting and without giving up. And now you are in one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world. So tell me a little bit about the kind of highs and lows, as much as you're comfortable going into, of these last few years. And if there was a time where you felt like giving up,
dude.
And talk me through that.
Oh, dude, let me tell you, my life about a year ago, hilariously bad, like comedically bad,
Okay.
like to the point where you have to laugh. You have to laugh, and you'll go, "How did this happen?" Everything in my life from head to toe was just not going well. You know, it's almost hilarious. It's like you work your ass off to make it and get signed, and you know, you're like, yeah, I finally got signed, you know. And then I was actually traveling to Vegas on the plane to go and wrestle the Briscoe brothers, which would have been my biggest sort of match at the time. It was going to be on pay-per-view. Plane lands, you know, the world is just, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
everything's falling apart. What is going on? I've got to get home, and I'm stuck at home for a couple of years. I bulked up because I realized, like, you know what? I'm fairly happy with the shape I got into at the weight I was at, but I was like, I just can't get motivated to do the same thing again. So I was like, you know what? My goal was, can I bulk up to Brock Lesnar's UFC weight? And I made it. I made it to 265 pounds, legit. There was one day I stepped on the scales and it was 265, legit. And what I did is I just got into powerlifting. I got a 500-pound squat, 500-pound deadlift. You know, like I've got at the time, you know, I did like 155 kilo bench press, but I'm pretty sure I could go higher than that now. And then, but yeah, it got to a point where, you know, again, without going into too much detail, both personally and professionally, when, as you know, when Ring of Honor kind of changed hands, I will say I was very grateful to get the opportunity to kind of close off the feud that I had with Dalton. I thought, you know, I was treated very well, very, very well over there. I've had pretty good experiences with the major companies. You know, so, but after that, it was kind of like, what's next? And I really had to build myself up from nothing again. So it was started, honestly, even like a year ago, I just remember thinking, right, well, I've got to start building up the bookings again. And you have to tell the fans that something has changed, you know? So a lot of people, unless you tell them, they're going to judge you on what your wrestling ability was 5 years ago. So I was like, do you know what? I threw out all my old moves, like every single one of them. The only move that I've kept is the double fall away slam, when you fall away slam two guys at the same time. Just again, because I'm the only guy that could do it. It's, you know, it's you don't want to deny the world greatness, you know.
Of course.
So, and I've kept that one, but other than that, I just basically channeled Psycho Sid and Scott Steiner, and I'll tell you the reason actually. So, please. I saw a bunch of action figures, wrestling action figures, and I remember seeing it and going, ugh. If I was an action figure, I'd be the most boring action figure I've ever seen in my life. I was like, you know, just, you know, 200 plus pounds, 220, brown hair, you know, he's a guy, he's a wrestler, you know. And then someone made me in Fire Pro Wrestling. And I was like, yep, that's boring. I wouldn't want to play as myself, you know, finish and move. What is it? Okay, fall away slam or something. I was like, nah, I can't do that. So I did, downloaded SmackDown 2, right? I decided, what am I going to do to make myself, and Fire Pro as well. I was like, I made myself in all these games. I was like, what would I need to do to make myself someone I would want to play as, or an action figure I would want to buy? And so I gave myself, I was like, right, well, I guess I'm dyeing my hair blonde. We'll give him all the best moves, like power bomb, choke slam, like, you know what I mean? I was like, gorilla press. I was like, all right, it's decided. So I literally just tried to look at it from a fan perspective and go, what do I need to do to make myself someone that people would want to play as in the video games? And by the way, I'm going to throw this out there now. Impact's video game is the most underrated pro wrestling video game of all time.
I loved it. I played it. I remember. It's great. Yeah.
It's class. Look at the graphics. The graphics still hold up.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
you weren't ready for that, Don Murray.
No, I'm buzzed it because it makes me want to go back and play it. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, and this is the kind of we'll go. You know, we'll do some promo questions in a minute, but
yeah,
it sounds like you've got something to prove, Joe. Is that how you feel? It sounds like you feel like there's something to prove a little bit to a worldwide audience. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that, you know.
You know what, man? You know what the crazy thing is? I couldn't care about proving anything. Okay. To the fans, anything to anybody else. It's don't get me wrong, all I want to do is entertain them. Yes. It's not about, because the thing is, if I have to prove something to somebody, it's a selfish intention, you know?
Okay, yep.
And for me, I've always found the stuff that really gets over for me, it never gets over when I go, oh, I want to get these views, or, oh, the fans will think I'm good if I do this. That never works. The thing that works is when I go, oh, they'll love this.
Hmm.
They'll love this. They'll love that joke. They'll love that move. That bit's going to be so cool. Whenever I make it selfless and actually about giving something to the audience, or making sure I'm that guy that management can count on, or
Hmm.
I'm that guy that somebody on the roster or one of my trainees can come to. Again, it's weird, by being selfless, you tend to gain anyway. And
Yeah.
I've always found, like, me going like, oh, I've got something, I'm going to prove these people wrong, because if I do that, I'm focusing on my haters, and I'll
Yep.
tell you something: if you've got no haters, you are a boring person. If you make something and you get 100% positive feedback, you know what I mean, that's great. But I would rather be loved by a portion of the audience than just liked by all of them.
Yeah.
And the stuff I'm making, I know it's going to split opinion. I know my vignettes are going to be a bit odd for some people, but I was actually quite surprised with how positive the response has been. And it's like, I just decided, you know what? I think it's funny if, a guy who's dead claps to my entrance theme. I think it's funny if I steal all the money in someone's will. I think it's funny if I ruin someone's marriage. You know what I mean, on TV. I think that's funny,
Yeah.
and thankfully the fans found it funny as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are things, and it's just come to me. Those are things that are quite dark in a way. Is there a darker edge to this character that you're developing, or is that something that, yeah, like, because it sounds like it's quite dark when you're going into a hospital bed and when taking someone's money.
How could it be dark, Dom? Everyone's laughing and clapping along. How could it be
Okay.
dark?
Absolutely. I suppose if people are laughing and clapping along, what could go wrong?
I will tell you this. As a couple times now, I've seen Rosemary. I think is one of the best acts in wrestling, right? But the last two times I spoke to her, she goes, "I'm on to you." She's like, "You're the Pied Piper. You're up. You're evil." And I'm like, "What?" So I think she might have like yourself. I think she might know something's up here. But
Okay.
I again, if people seem to be laughing and clapping along, now let me ask you this, Tom: would they be laughing and clapping along if I made the guy's life better?
Well, there you go. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question that I'm
It's
sure many people will debate over the next couple of months.
It's taking British humor and putting it in an American program, and it's takes some balls to do it, but I take my hat off to Impact for allowing me to do that, because
Yeah.
that's what us British people do. We love to make fun of our misfortune. And like I say, I've had some insanely, hilariously horrible things happen to me over the last while. And I think it's just funnier I think it's just the best way to deal with it is just to make fun of it and use it, So
Interesting. Yeah, it's very British, isn't it? It's a very British way of doing things. Yeah.
It is, yeah. But somehow it's just everybody else is the one who it's everyone else's misfortune now. Joe Hendry doesn't have any misfortune anymore. Things are on the up.
I love it. And I'm so buzzed for you. I'm just gonna squeeze 2 or 3 more questions in before we finish.
Yeah.
You mentioned your trainees. Now, obviously, you are in a position now where you're going to be back on TV and Impact Wrestling, seen by people around the world.
And Fight TV.
And Fight TV, of course. And Fight TV.
Yeah.
Got to get those plugs in. I wonder what you would say to a trainee who, perhaps looks at you and goes, we have discussed this before, maybe a year ago, but I wanted to see if your perception has changed. If someone says to you, "Joe, how do I do that? I can't be you. I can't be Joe Hendry doing that in Impact Wrestling. I can't get there. I haven't got the balls to, to cope with what, the ups and downs that you've had in your career." What would you say to a trainee that comes to you with that? What kind of advice or words of wisdom would you impart on a trainee, someone that comes to you?
So there's a few things. One thing, in today's day and age, you actually have to protect yourself from negativity. You must insulate yourself from negativity because, like I say, if you have no haters, then you are doing something bland. So it is essential for you to have haters, right? Now, if they say something true, it's going to hurt. But if it's not true, then it shouldn't hurt. So why expose yourself to something that is not going to be constructive, right? So if you see someone saying something on Twitter that's annoying you, I found there was maybe a year ago, there's been a few times here there where I've got quite a lot of internet hate and people not liking my act. And I'm not joking you. I muted 5 accounts, just 5, and the vast majority of it stopped. And I started realizing, I was like, these accounts look like they're all ran by the same person. And it's like, I gave this airtime in my head. You can't do it. You have to have your vision. This is, I can't remember who said this, but it's like, I don't even know if it was a wrestler, but you have to approach creative endeavors like, so this is wrestling according to Joe. What you're doing right now has to be interviewing according to Dom. You shouldn't have to adhere to, you know, like, you should go with what your creative vision is. And if you fail, at least you saw your vision through and you gave it everything, you gave it 100%. Whereas if you do something that you think creatively isn't right, and then you have to, in retrospect, go, well, I wasn't really myself. You know, a lot of this actually comes down to just being yourself. Like, I find the best way to do it is to also be genuine as well.
Yeah.
And realize that I think you have to be careful not to, because social media, we always show the best version of ourselves. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that can be a bit of a pitfall for a lot of people, because it just kind of, there are people who don't feel so great who are putting up all, you know, pictures of, oh, this is amazing, I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and doing that. But it's like, I have actually found that if you, being just genuine is the best way to do it. It takes away a lot of that pressure. You know, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay for things not to be going well. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to be upset. And I think just like not being afraid to just genuinely show your emotions and realize some people are not going to like that, but some people are going to appreciate the fact that you're being genuine. And I think sometimes that's why we love realism in wrestling. We love realism in promos, but it's also people gravitate towards that. You know, there's something endearing about someone who's just willing to be an open book and go, you know, this is the situation, and, you know, celebrate the wins, but also, you know, say, hey, you know, there's maybe some things I got to work on here. So I'd say being genuine. The other thing I would say is I think you have to be physically tough and mentally tough. Yeah. And one of the best ways to be mentally tough is to also be physically tough. And they work hand in hand. So I like all my trainees to know some degree of shoot fighting, because you need to know that you're going to provide anybody with problems. And my point is, it's like you've got to be physically and mentally tough. So I think actually, and it really helps in pro wrestling to understand how fighting works as well. I think people who have an understanding of that, the wrestling just has like an intensity to it as well. There's just something different about it. You know, it's just that it just adds that extra element of realism. So that's some advice that I would give. But also, you said something about, like, you know, oh, I can't be Joe Hendry. They shouldn't be Joe Hendry. They shouldn't be, you know, they shouldn't be who they're looking at on TV. They should be themselves with the volume turned up. That's the main thing, is don't be afraid to just be yourself. And that's what I've tried to do with my students, is I've got some students who I don't understand their gimmick. Okay. But I kind of, in my head, I'm like, it's wrong for me to say, don't do that, unless it's like obviously bad or something like that. But I think the best thing to do is to let people be themselves. And, you know, the chances are, if you feel strongly, a lot of other people are going to feel strongly about a certain thing. And I think that's it. Understanding that it's okay to be loved by a portion of the audience rather than liked by all of them. Just having the courage to express yourself. And also, it's okay to try something wild and for it to fail. Like, again, if you look at my vignettes, like on paper, imagine me calling up and going, right, so there's a hospital and there's this dad, and then, you know, I come in clapping, and, you know, oh, and there's this other scene where this couple are having an argument in the kitchen and they can't decide who the father of the baby is, and then I just pop out and everybody starts clapping and laughing. You know what I mean? If I had to describe that verbally, like, it sounds a little off, but sometimes you have to take the risk. You have to take the risk. And at the end of the day, if you do it with the intent of, people will laugh, or people will cry, or people will feel anger or fear, if you have genuine intentions to emote from the audience, I think you're going to do well.
Absolutely, man. And thank you so much for the reflection there. I really appreciate it, man, because it's lovely getting your thoughts on this. A couple more then, I think, because obviously you haven't appeared on Impact yet. We've got to ask, dream feuds, stuff, unfinished business from the last time, but obviously there's a lot of characters you mentioned, you know, a lot of people there. Impact's roster is stacked. Yeah. What do you want to achieve? Dream feuds, matches that you are desperate to have in Impact Wrestling?
So I genuinely believe, and I've said this on Twitter, I've said it on social media, I think Impact Wrestling has the best television wrestling product right now. That is my absolute genuine belief. And that is one of the reasons why I'm there. I love it. It's a wrestling show, and I know that sounds obvious, but that's what it is to me. It's not. I love the production of it. I love the way it's presented. I love the pacing of the show, and like you say, the roster is just unbelievably stacked right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the challenge for me. Was like, how do I bring something completely different to the program? And that's when you know you're dealing with something that's like, this is top quality stuff. Lance Storm actually tweeted out something earlier today that said in similar vein about Impact Wrestling's product. It is, it really is that good, and that a lot of that is down to the roster that's been assembled by the team. And I just want to say as well, the team are unbelievable. The team are very talent focused. The team are, the message that's, even in the short time that I've been there, the message is, we want to help you all get your message out there, get over. We want you to succeed. And it's just like this, it's this kind of like, even though I've just arrived, it really feels like a unified locker room. I will say for me, Eric Young is someone that I look up to and have looked up to a lot. I'd love to wrestle Eric Young. Eddie Edwards is someone I haven't wrestled yet. Moose is someone I wrestled a long time ago, but now I'm a heavyweight as well. I think that would be an intriguing matchup. Sami Callihan, I think, is a phenomenal talent for a variety of reasons. Again, what he brings to the table is just so unique, and he does it with such conviction. There's so many names. I think I think I would love to have a go at the X division as well. I would love to just cause some havoc in the X division. I think that would be a lot of fun. I will say though, if you could give me, I will tell you this, I will be at Bound for Glory. Awesome. I can't tell you what I'm doing, but I will be appearing in front of the fans.
Oh, awesome, man! That's all
right.
That's nice.
I've been told I'm allowed to say that. Can't tell you what it is just yet, but I will be there.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying this is what it is. I'm just because who knows, right? But if I had my way, if Impact Management come to me right now and they say, who do you want to work with? Brian Myers the other day said he will only blue check marks only, please. I retweeted it, and then he just replied, oh no, and my fans know that was a mistake. Okay. He's got a custom entrance with his name written on it now. So amazing. I genuinely, I don't know yet what I'm going to be doing on Bound for Glory, but that is something I want to get done at some point. I think there's some business to be had with myself and Brian for the Digital Media Championship.
Oh man, that is exciting. That's exciting. Well, we got one more. I am going to ask you off record one day about your favorite motivational Joe Hendry tune that you're listening to, but I'm going to reserve that for another time. I do have to ask you. You have been.
Oh no, I'll tell you.
Sure?
It's Hyper by Electric Callboy.
Well, there you go. That's a great shout.
It's the best new song the last few years.
Okay, well, I'll definitely. I know Electric Callboy, but I need to check that one out. But thank you for that.
That's the best song. Come on, man.
Cool.
You're not a music journalist as well.
I know. I need to get on that. I'll get on it. But I do want to finish with this one. You have been places that not a lot of other, you've traveled all over the world. A lot of wrestlers have done indie bookings all over the place. You've been to Grimsby, man. You've been everywhere. I know you're not a great fan of Grimsby, but
of all the places you could have mentioned, South Africa, Australia, Mexico, Poland.
Yeah. Grimsby.
No, but not Grimsby.
But that's my point. My point is you've been to everywhere. So what is your message to the fans of yours, if you've got any left in Grimsby, because I know you do hate it there.
Dude, let me stop you there. The people in Grimsby love Joe Hendry.
Okay.
You watch that video, they're all laughing their asses off.
Okay.
They love it.
All right.
Anyway, carry on.
Your message to fans who are watching on Impact Plus, watching on YouTube, wherever they are watching, from all over the world, because you have got fans in the US, you've got fans in the UK, everywhere. What is your message to them, and what would you like to say to those people who have supported you and will continue to do so as you move forward in Impact?
Okay, so what people need to understand is this, right? Bound for Glory is, so I genuinely, with my heart, that Impact Wrestling is the best wrestling product out there, and Bound for Glory is the showcase of what we do, and the show and the culmination of what this roster can offer, and what this product is. And you know, if you haven't watched in a little while, or if you've been watching every week, this is the one that you got to tune in for. I'm so proud to be a part of this company, but I know it's going to be in Albany, New York. The crowd's going to be hot. It's Bound for Glory. There is an excitement in the air. So make sure that you're going to head over to Fight TV. If you're in the UK, that's where you can get the program. So get over there, because the thing is, I've been watching Bound for Glory since it came about. I remember I used to watch Impact Wrestling on my video iPod. Right, I had the first match I ever put on there was Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, their confrontation and their match from 2006, and I had to have a moment where I was like, "This has come full circle. This is I am now doing what these guys were doing. It's awesome, and I can't wait to do it. I personally." I'm going to show something. I'm going to give the fans a moment. And that's one thing I've learned about wrestling. Everything that you do has to be a moment. So with my vignettes, with my entrances, I've always got that. You have to give people a moment that they'll remember. Now I know that with the vignettes. And it's like, in ring, I have to do something at Bound for Glory that is going to get people talking, that is going to get people remembering me. Because do you know what? I'm going to tell you this, right? I'm going to just, peel back the curtain a little bit here.
All right, then.
So we were told by management, we were like, look, we want one of you to get over so big that we all prosper in the same way that when you get a hot period in wrestling. And I heard that, and I just thought, I'm ready for the challenge. Like, I genuinely want to step up. And I said this to a bunch of the management team. I says, look, I'm here to make this company money. I want to be a top talent for this company. That's why I'm here. So I'm just going to do something. I'm going to do something nuts at Bound for Glory to make that happen.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see it. Joe, congratulations again, and thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks. Good to speak to you, Dom.